but I thought I'd go ahead and do that for today. All right, just because there's a few things that I want to make sure that you're familiar with. All right, so today it's just going to be about graphing points. All right, in the past we've just done the positives. Now we're going to do the positives and the what?
Negatives.
And the negatives. All right, so there's a few things that I want to just review with you. First thing I want to review is this right here. This line straight across is the what? The x-axis. All right, if I didn't mark that, go ahead and mark it. Or make sure that you know that. That's the x-axis. All right, and that's called the horizontal axis. And then, of course, there is a vertical axis. This guy right there, that's the what? That's the y-axis. And I'm pretty comfortable everybody knows that. All right, now listen, you don't have to mark them on all of them. You just have to mark on the first one. The first one's kind of like your notes. The first one's kind of like your notes. Well, you guys do fantastic. I don't care what you do. All right. So now, the next thing that's kind of important are things called quadrants. All right. Points are located in quadrants, or they are on the x-axis, or they are on the y-axis. All right. So quadrant 1, yes, ma'am.
Wait, which one's the y-axis and which one's the x?
Okay, so see how it's listed there? There, that's the x. So we say the horizontal is the x and the vertical is the y. All right, now we're going to do the quadrants. Yes, sir.
Can I do the quadrant?
Tell me what's quadrant 1.
Quadrant 1 is the top left one.
Anybody else?
Oh, no.
Anybody else?
The one with the M-O-L.
Quadrant 1 is actually where the positive is. That's how you kind of remember it. So it's the top right. All right. So what we do is on your graph, I want you to put Roman numeral 1. That's quadrant 1. Okay. And then quadrant 2, we count them counterclockwise. We count them counterclockwise. So this is quadrant what here? That's quadrant 2. And like I said, this is just your notes. So then we would have quadrant 3 would be the bottom left. And then, of course, we would say quadrant 4, which is your IV. That's Roman numeral for 4. All right, which I know you guys all know. All right, so that's basically it. Now, there's one other important point on the graph. We like to say it's the point right in the middle. And the point right in the middle is called the what? 0, 0, but it's also called what? The origin. The origin. All right? The middle point is always referred to as the origin. All right? Now, I want you to remember, you always graph left and right first, which is the x-coordinate, and then you graph what? Up and down, which is the what? The y-coordinate. All right? So what I like to try to tell people, or all of the kids, is that it's x, comma, y. That's how you graph. X, comma, y. That means you move on the x first, and then you move on the y second. What?
You said x is going
That's
left and
right.
right and y is up.
Yeah, you're exactly right. X is left and right, y is up and down. All right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of take a look now at question number 1. So your question number 1 now, the answers to question number 1 can just go, that's why I left you some space. They can just go right here. Does everybody agree with me? All right, eventually we'll be plotting points, and then we'll use the graph to plot the points. But you can write the answers right down the left side of your page. All right? I think that's good. All right? So now, we want to find point Q. So I want someone to visualize or find Q, and then try to tell me what those coordinates are. Do you know?
Is it -9 or +2?
Now, why do you think -9? Because your +2 is correct. So you went up 2. The question is, how far did I go this way? Remember, from the origin. How many do we go to the left? Come on, you got this. This would be -1. This. What's that?
You have to put Q on our
No, I just want you to tell me the ordered pair. Can you? What are you thinking? Because it's okay. It's okay. Let's just count for me. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm gonna draw a point right here, and then I'm going to move it for you, so you can see how simple it is. Because you got the +2 right. So if you got the +2 right, then I'm sure that you can get the other one. All right. So here's where we start. So what is this point right there? Not -1. This would be. And then we did what? That's it. That's how simple it is.
Probably our drafts are different.
Oh. So no. Okay, so I understand.
Those go to 6. These go to 10.
Just let me explain. Some of you are not, you just didn't understand what I said. So we said this was -5, +2. We're not looking at this, kiddo. We're not looking at from this perspective here. You're just looking straight up there. You're going to use this right here to graph questions 5, 6, 7, and 8. Well, the ones that are coming up. You see what I'm saying? This has nothing to do with the questions we're talking about right now. All right? Thank you. All right? You understand me now, right? Okay. All right. So now we're asking about point P. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight point P is down here. And now I want you to tell me, all right, what the coordinate for P is. What's the coordinate for P, Xavier?
So it would be -3.
Now here's where I'm starting. So how much should I go to the right?
3.
And then?
Then you go down 3, which
Yes.
would be 3.
Is it -3, or what?
3.
Yes. Does everybody see now? 3, -3 for that. So P is 3, -3. What?
Can we write like 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the little blank space on our paper for this one? Oh, yeah.
Am I clear on this, guys? I feel like some of you are not. I'm not clear. I mean, we're just writing the answers on the paper that I gave you. And we're going to use the graph paper itself when we have to do what? Plot the points. Yes. I'm not sure why that's difficult. All right? So now what I want to do is I want to find T. All right? Ms. Johnson, I want you to tell me about T. What would that be? Now, are we going, remember, left is negative. To the right is positive.
Positive 5.
Yes.
Positive.
There you go. +5, +2. Now look, guys, here's what I'm trying to tell you. If I'm not clear, now's the time where we're making it clear. Right? Because I said if we can get through the first part, then you should understand everything else. Is everybody comfortable with that being 5-2 now? All right, good. Come on, don't be afraid to ask me a question now. So T was 5, 2. All right, Bella, you tell me about M.
-5, -2.
You're awesome. Thank you. -5, -2. -5, -2. -5, -2. Is everybody okay with that? Yes, sir. Tell me.
I don't have a question. I mean, when we get to the graphing part.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. Okay. So here we go. I just answered everything there is to know about 1, 2, 3, and 4. Is everybody good? Okay. Now the next part, right, it's kind of silly to graph a single point on each graph, right? So what I decided was we're going to put 4 points on each graph. Sean, you got to listen. I'm not going to graph all the points on one graph. Is everybody with me? So what we're going to do is on this graph, if you want, and I don't even mind if you did it on this graph. It wouldn't matter to me. But you're going to graph now 5, 6, 7, and 8. 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right? Yes.
You want us to put the number or the letter?
The letter. That's what we're doing, putting the letter. All right? So now what's nice about my iPad is I can create graph paper rather quickly. So I'm gonna make my own X and Y axis down here. And then, all right, then we'll see how it goes. All right, now the only thing I want you to do is I want you to put in each axis the quadrants. Quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. This is what I would like for you to do because on the test in the past, people have forgotten what quadrants they are in. So I figure if you write it 4 or 5 times, you should be good. All right, now what I'm going to do for me is I'm going to come back up here and I'm just going to grab 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, I'm going to come down here now and put 5, 6, 7, and 8, which you don't have to do, but I'm just doing it for me. And now my job is to graph those points. Okay, so to graph those points now, I'm going to hear Jack. How do I graph negative 2, 3?
Negative 2, so you go to the left 2.
And then?
Negative 3, so?
Well,
Or
question 3.
So that would be up 3.
Good,
So
very good. So negative 2, up 3, plot a point,
it would be
quadrant 2, and we would label it A. Now that's the reason why I'm not asking you to write quadrant 2 down because you wrote the quadrant on the graph. So you could be able to say that's quadrant 2. What? No, they're not. Negatives are always down. There's negatives in there. I don't know what we're waiting. No. Positives are going to the right. Negatives are going to the left. Positives are going up. Negatives are going down.
Yeah, but on our case.
No, it does not. I'm looking at it. I don't know what you're saying.
Santa, it might be upside down. Flip it over.
Let me see. Let me see. Upside down. That's the way the paper should be. Whoops, that's okay. See. All right, here we go. Now, all right. Now that you have it right side up, all right. Now I need 4, negative 1. Jensen, tell me about 4, negative 1. That's all right. Just tell me how to graph 4, negative 1. That's what I said. How do I graph 4, negative 1? Yep, that's it. And then what?
And then down 1.
That's right. 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, and down 1. And then I label that point what? I label that B. Now, how do I graph negative 3, negative 2? Tell me, Con.
Negative 3, negative 2.
So what do I do?
You would go down 3, and then you would, yeah, you would go down 3, and then you would go left 2.
No. You always do the X first. You always go left and right first.
Yeah.
So you would go what?
Down 3.
Down is not left.
Oh, left. You would go
Good. I'm glad we caught that. Left 3, down 2, and put a C. That's why I think it's so important to pay attention. Go ahead. Very, very, very important. All right, Brooke, tell me about 0, -5. What do I have to do for this one? Well, how do I graph? What do I do first? Yes, we go to 0, so we don't move anything. And then we just go what? Well, you got to be careful. -5. So we go not up, but what? Down 5. Stay at 0 and go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we put a D by that. All right, is everybody okay with that? Is D in a quadrant? Is D in a quadrant? No, it's not in the quadrant. We say it's on a what? Well, origin is not bad, but listen, there's only one spot for the origin. We say it's on the what? No, on the, yay, thank you. Point D is on the y-axis. So anytime a point is on an axis, we don't say it's definitely not in a quadrant. We say it's on the y-axis. All right, if it's on the x-axis, we say it's on the x-axis. It's not on a quadrant. Is everybody with me on that? Quadrants have to be all points in the quadrant, like all of these points would be in quadrant 1. All right, they can't be on an axis. Just like over here, these are all these points over here in quadrant what? 2. And then obviously the one below that, we would say everything is in quadrant what? 3. And the last over here, we would say this is in quadrant what? Quadrant 4. Is everybody good with this? All right. Now some of you guys, you know, that's what I'm saying. Don't assume you understand what we're doing. Please pay attention. All right, please pay attention. All right. Now what we're going to do is, I really don't like question number 9, so we don't have to do question number 9. All right, we don't have to do question number 9. All right. So now your homework is to do 10 through 31, and then I need you to try 34 through 37. Those can be a little tricky, so I want you to read them carefully. I also post the solutions. All right. Do a couple problems and check. Now, the one thing I want to tell you now, guys, is that you have to plot these points. All of these points have to be plotted, right? But I want them to be plotted. Are you hearing me? Everybody's got to hear me, Sean. Because if you already did the homework, you might have to do it over. I want 4 points in every single graph. So you understand what I'm saying, right? So 20 through 23 are on a graph. 24 through what? 27 are on a graph. And 28 through 31 are on a different graph. Does everybody agree with me on that? And that way everything's not squished together and I can make sure. That's why you have, that's why I gave you 2 pieces of paper just to make sure. What?
On the first page, if you want to use word graphs.
Yeah, I don't care how you do it. I want them separated. That's what I want. I don't want them all on one sheet of graph paper. All right? And then every time you graph a point, you got to label it also with the letter, not the number. What?
I'm just looking ahead, just in case I don't understand it. For 34 to 37, I don't understand it.
Yes, you can think about it. I said, I want you to think about it. It just says the absolute value of -6. You already know what the absolute value of -6 is. So then you plot that. I shouldn't have to tell you that, right? Come on, think about it. I'm not just always going to tell you exactly how to do every problem. You have to think about it. All right, then try it. All right, come on, you can do that. That's what we got to get better at. All right? All right, remember what I said. Once you do 3 or 4 problems, I want you to check your work. All right? Answers are posted.